in today's lesson, we're going to be learning how to play a solo ukulele arrangement of Oh Holy Night. Now, you're not only going to learn how to play this beautiful melody, but you're also going to learn how to add strumming fills to create depth in ways that you can apply to other arrangements that you work on as well. Let's go and dive into the first stanza, which should look and sound something like this. Now, if you'd like to download a tab of this, it's available right over here, one of those two areas. And you can check it out where my Patreon page, we do a different vote every month for a lesson, and this happened to win this month. But let's go ahead and dive into playing this. So the first thing we're going to do is play this C chord, but to do this, we're just going to strum our open strings. We're going to strum our G, C, E strings with our thumb on our playing hand. Now this is using a technique that's called a rest stroke. I've got a video of it linked down below if you haven't worked on it before, but it's basically just using the thumb and stopping, resting on whatever string you're leaving on. In this case, it's the A string. After I've strummed those three strings, I'm then going to play the E string again, and one more time. Now I'm going to move to this E minor chord, but I don't need to play a full one. I'm just going to take my ring finger, place it on the 4th fret of the C string, and my middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string. I'm going to strum our G, C, E strings, resting on the A again. Now here's the first little element of filler that I alluded to at the beginning of the video. You'll notice that on the tab, there's another little E minor, the 0, 4, 3 written, and it's in parentheses, and just above it is a little strum marker telling you to do a down strum. Now, this is throughout this arrangement, and what it means is it's a filler strum. It's optional. You don't have to play it. If you're trying to keep this simple, just skip all of these little filler strums throughout the arrangement. If you're wanting to add more depth, you add them in. If you do want to add them in, the way I like to do it is taking my thumb and I turn it so I use a little bit more of the pad of the thumb, and I just lightly strum across the strings that are shown, and I do it in a way that's much quieter than the other parts, because this is not a melodic sequence, it is filler, so I want it to sound different. So that you can kind of hear that sound is like this. See, I'm just lightly brushing the thumb across. If you accidentally hit your A string or whatever else, that's okay. You can also try muting the string. Really, whatever sounds good to you. It's meant to just create a little bit of a fill. And then after this, I'm going to play the 3 on the E again to finish that measure. And just to show this now, with the first measure having some filler, it should sound something like this. See how it's a nice soft strum to create that sound. And we'll talk more about these filler strums as we go through. The second measure here, though, we're going to play an F chord, so move your middle finger to the 2nd fret of the G string, index finger to the 1st fret of the E string, strum through all 4 strings. Play the open A again, 1 on the E, open on the A, all part of it there. Then we're going to play a normal everyday C chord, take your ring finger out on the 3rd fret of the A string, take the other 2 fingers off, strum through all 4 strings with the thumb there. And then, hey, another filler moment, so I'm going to take the side of my thumb, very lightly strum it. And then I'm going to play on measure 3 this other C chord. This is just going to be the 3rd fret on the E string. So what I like to do here is, you see how my 3rd fret on the A string is covered with the ring finger here? I'm going to take my middle finger and I'm going to cross it over to the 3rd fret of the E, and then I can take that ring finger off. The reason I like to do that is it allows me to place this finger before taking this finger off, so I get continued resonance. I'm going to strum those 3 strings, the G, C, and E, and play the E string again. Open on the E string, taking it off. Then I'm going to play 2 on the C. I like to use my middle finger here. And the reason is the next thing I'm going to play, this little A minor chord, I'm going to take this index finger, I'm going to cross it up and over to the 2nd fret of the G string. And then I'm going to take this finger off and play the G and C strings on 2 and open. Just those 2 strings. The way you do that is stopping on the E string using that rest stroke technique. And then I'm going to play open on the E, 1 on the E with the index. And then going to the last measure of this stanza, I'm going to play the 2nd fret on the C string with my middle finger and the 3rd fret on the E string with my ring finger. The index doesn't necessarily have to come off. You can actually just leave it there. And what's nice about that is after you strum your G, C, and E there, you're then going to play 1 on the E, and then you're going to play 2 on the C by just taking off that ring finger for the 1 on the E. And then we're going to open it up, play open on the G and the C, and then we're we're going to fret our normal everyday C chord with the 3rd fret here on the A string and do a nice soft filler strum. So it's pretty straightforward, right? We're just using our thumb. We're using the thumb to both play the melody and for these little strum fills. And the left hand doesn't have a lot of movement yet. We want to just make sure we're using the right fingers at the right time. And these first 4 measures should sound something like this, then going into the next 4 afterwards. Next ones. So these next 4 bars start off the same. In fact, measures 5 and 6, the first 2 bars of this new stanza, are exactly the same as what we played in measures 1 and 2. Exactly identical, no change whatsoever with those same filler strums. But then as we go on to measure 7, it changes a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to play this C chord at measure 7. I like to use my middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string. I'm going to play my G, C, and E, so this is at measure 7 there. Then I'm going to play the 3 on the E, then 2 on the E with my index finger, open on the E, and then a full E minor chord. To play this, my ring finger goes on the 4th fret of the C string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and my index finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string. I'm going to strum through all 4, and then a filler strum. And then I'm going to play 3 on the E, then open on the A. Then it goes to this tricky chord, a B7. It's a little bar chord action here. Just a partial one though. We're going to take our index finger and we're going to bar it across the 2nd fret of the E and the A strings, just like that. Make sure you hug right up next to that fret wire, get right up close to it, and then also pull back a little bit with your hand there to kind of pinch over the A string to get a good tone there. Then the middle finger is going to cross up and over to the 3rd fret of the C string. It's all about getting that good angle right here so that you're not touching the other strings. This is the hardest chord of the song for a lot of people if they haven't done much bar chording. We're going to play that, and then we're going to play 3 on the A. Ideally, we're going to take this ring finger and squeeze it in underneath to the 3rd fret of the A string. If you have to reposition these fingers, that's okay, but ideally we want to leave them on. Then we're going to play 2 on the A by just taking that finger back off. And then we're going to play this sort of altered E minor by just taking the ring finger, placing it on the 4th fret of the C string, and then taking the other 2 fingers off, strumming our G, C, and E strings. And then we're going to do a filler strum there. Now it's easy on that filler strum to hit that A string, so you can just kind of directionalize it where you kind of come out a little bit. Or you can try to mute the string, or you can just leave it open. It's all good as long as you like the sound. And then I'm going to play the 3 on the E string there for this next part, which I'm just going to fret the 3rd with my middle finger right here. And that takes us through this stanza. So this entire stanza, measures 5 through 8, should sound something like this. And then I'm going to go right into 9 through 12 for the next 4. Should be something like... and going to the next one. So this one has minimal fills, and the reason for that's really simple. The melody is a little bit more active, and we never have enough space to create a fill. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But let's go ahead and learn these 4 measures. We're going to start with this G7. Well, where we were playing an E minor, and then we added the 3rd fret here, right? So the best way to play this is to leave your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string and add your index here on the 2nd fret of the C string. So we're just playing 0, 2, and 3. With the index and middle. I'm going to do my strum through, stopping on the A string, and then we play the A string open, then 2 on the C, and then 3 on the E. All part of it. Nice and easy measure. And then it gets really hard here. We play this altered C of all open, just 0, 0, 0, 0. Then we're going to play the 3 on the E. I like to use my middle finger here on that 3 on the E. Then we got to play 3 on the A. This is a little recurring theme. I like to stack the fingers kind of underneath. So I'm going to take that ring finger and add it to 3 on the A string. That way I don't have to have this note stop ringing. And then I'm going to play open on the E, and then all the way through open. And then 3 on the E again, and I'm going to use my middle finger here. I'm going to play my middle finger there again, because the next part here on measure 11 is the same as measure 9. Exactly identical to what we just played a moment ago on measure 9. And then I'm going to play measure 12, which goes... That's all the same as what we played earlier on measure 10, so all open, the 3 on the E with the middle finger here, the 3 on the A with the ring finger here, open on the E, and then the 3 on the E again with the middle finger is where it changes just a little bit. So you'll see that second to last note, I'm going to play that 003, and then for the very, very last note of the song, not the song, excuse me, of this stanza, I'm going to play a C chord by taking the ring finger, adding it here on the 3rd fret of the A string, taking off the middle finger, do this nice little filler strum, the only filler strum of these whole 4 bars. Now, these should sound something like this when you play them through, and I'll go into the next 4 bars as well. Just as a quick preview, the next 4 bars are my favorite of the song, and lots to talk about. But 9 through 12 should sound something like this. Now the next. Now to play these 4 bars, you notice the previous 4 had very little in the way of filler. This one has the most filler in the whole song, or at least close to it. And the reason for this is pretty simple. Let's go ahead and learn it and we'll talk it through. We're going to be playing this A minor chord to play this. Well, we were just at this C chord with the 3rd fret on the A string with our ring finger, right? So to play this A minor, we just take our index and we put it on the 2nd fret of the G string in addition to that ring. We're going to strum through all 4 strings with our thumb. And this is the fall on your knees part, right? Well, when you play this, for the lyrics of fall and then on your knees, right? Well, it's a little bit empty if I just played the lyrics. If I just go... That's a little empty, so that's where these 2 filler strums come in. As we play the first one for the melody, and then to fill the space, we take our thumb, and we just strum it down twice to fill that space. 1, 2, 3. And then for those next 2 notes, where you'll notice I'm playing the 2 on the A string, I use my middle finger there, then open on the A, opening it up. Going into the 14th measure here, this one's my favorite measure of the whole song because we're going to play this E minor chord, 4, 3, 2 with our ring, middle, and index, right? Strum through with the thumb. And then instead of just leaving it, we're going to add some filler. And we're going to do the filler the same way. We're going to do the soft strums with our thumb. We're going to strum the chord once with the thumb, and then we're going to spice it up with this E minor add 9. Now the music theory behind this, it's not too important if you don't want it to be important, but if you do find it important, we're adding an F sharp note to the chord, which is going to be the 2nd fret of the E string. So we play 0, 4, 2, 2. So remember that little bar we did earlier in the song with that little B7? Same bar there with the index finger, and now we're going to use our ring finger here to the 4th fret of the C string. 0, 4, 2, 2. One of my all-time favorite chords on the ukulele. We're going to play that twice with the nice soft filler sound. So measure 14 has the E minor, and then soft strum, and then soft on this E minor add 9, which I just love the texture of. And the reason for that, very simple, it fills the space. Instead of just going, I'm filling the space. Pretty cool, right? And then we go on to the next measure here on 15. It goes to a D minor. Take your index finger, bar it across the 5th fret. You could go all the way across all 4 strings if you'd like to. If you find that's difficult, it's okay to just go across the C, E, and A strings. Again, make sure that you pinch back just a little bit with this. It's not just a pinch like this. It's also a pull back like this. And that creates a nice sound on that bar. I'm going to strum through the 5, 5, 5. And then I'm going to strum it twice. Nice little filler in the background. And then we play open on the A 3 times. And then we go to our A minor chord again, the same one from the beginning of the measure, 2 0 0 3. I'm going to strum through it once with the melody, and then I'm going to strum it as a filler, and then play the 3 on the A for melody, and then strum through it again for filler, and then the 3 on the A for melody again. This measure is a monster in that it's going between melody, filler, melody, filler, melody. And that's what makes this sound so nice. So these 4 measures are a really great teaching opportunity. I just want to take a moment to talk about it. I'm going to first play these 3 measures without any of the filler. So I'm going to play it without any of those in parentheses notes. It sounds like this. Okay, that's fine. It's a little empty. Now, sometimes we want that sound, right? Sometimes, though, we want it to be a little bit more full. So now I'm going to play it with the notes in parentheses. Which one do you like more? The cool thing is there's no right answer here. There's no objectivity to this. Some people like the sparse sound, other people like the full sound. Maybe you like something in between too. Every single one of those parentheses notes and every single one in the entire song is completely optional. So try different things. Maybe you play some of them, maybe you don't play others. Play it by feel. This starts to create a little bit of an intuition for when you're playing these solo arrangements to be able to feel it and use these fills to make your arrangements your own. So let's go ahead and hear it again. I'm going to play it with the fills this time, and then we're going to go into the next 4 measures. Should be something like this. The next part. So these 4 bars have a lot more fills as well. And we're moving up the fretboard a little bit with this. So we're going to play 7 on the A string with this C chord. So we did just play this. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to slide up. There's a couple different ways you can play this. You can just slide your ring finger up to the 7th fret on the A string, just like so. And then we're going to, after that, strum a nice soft filler strum. And then we're going to go to this G7 by taking our ring finger and popping it up to the 7th fret of the E string. And then your index is going to bar across the 5th fret of the C, E, and A string. So it's 5, 7, 5. That's a tricky little bar chord if you haven't played that before. So we got that ring finger up to 7. And then we've got the ring finger to 7 on the E. Kick the bar over. We're going to do a filler strum there. And then we're going to play 3 on the E string. Kind of awkward to get down there. If you're playing a high G like me, you could just play the open G, but if you're playing a low G, you have to play the 3. Just take that index finger and scooch it down to 3 on the E string just like that, because it's the one that's closest. And then when we go to this C chord here on measure 18, a little bit of jumping, my ring finger is going to come to 3 on the A. I'm going to take off the index, and I'm going to play that through for the melody, followed by a filler strum. And then play this little D minor chord. Really pretty sound. We're going to take this middle finger, place it here on the 2nd fret of the C string, index here on the 1st fret of the E, and leave the ring finger already on the 3rd fret of the A. Strum through those 3 strings. Then we're going to move the ring finger down to 2, then open on the A. Kind of neat. Then we're going to go measure 19. We're going to add this ring finger on 3 of the E string, take the other 2 fingers off. We're going to do a filler strum there. And then we're going to move to a G chord here by just taking this middle finger and place it here on the C string. Careful, this is one of the few times where the chords change at the filler. You'll see that it's not the same chord fillered twice. It's a different one on that 2nd filler note on measure 19. So we just got to add that 2 on the C. We'll be good to go. Then we're going to play 3 on the E, open on the A, 3 on the E, all part of it there. And then we take that middle finger back off, leaving it the 0, 0, 3, the little C chord, strum through the 3 G, C, and E strings, then strum 3 more times. And then for the very last part of this stanza, we're going to jump all the way up to 8 with our ring finger. So you see the ring finger slid from 3 on the E string, just all the way up to 8 there. And there's a reason for that, I promise. We'll see it with the next part, especially as I play into it. But here's what 17, 18, 19, and 20 should sound like. Should be something like this. Oops, one more time there. As we go in the next part, it sounds like this. You'll notice these are the last 4 of the song. So what do we do to get there? Well, we just played the 8 on the E, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to slide that down to 7 on the E. The ring finger's there now on 7 of the E string. And then we're going to take the index finger, we're going to bar it across the C, E, and A strings again for this G7. Same thing that we played in the previous set of measures. We're going to strum through all 4 strings, and then we're going to do 3 filler strums. Then we're going to play 3 on the E kind of rapidly. Now again, if you're high G, you could just play that open G, but if you're low G, we got to move that index down to 3 on the E string there. Going into measure 22, the pinky is going to play 7 on the A. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to strum through those 4 with the thumb. I'm going to do this nice little hit with the pad of the thumb going through. And then I'm going to play this F chord in kind of an interesting way. It's really an F major 7, and this might seem awkward, but we're going to leave our pinky there. We don't want to move it. And we're going to take the index and we're going to bar it across the 5th fret of the G, C, E, and A string. So this is all the way across, and the pinky's there. Now that might seem a little awkward, but the pinky was already there. So it doesn't make as much sense to move, add a new finger, as it does to just leave it in position and get that 5, 5, 5, 7. After we play that, we then play the 5 on the A by taking the pinky off. And then going in measure 23, we got to slide down, ring finger to the 3rd fret of the A string, strum through that C chord, little filler strum. And then we're going to play the G7 by taking this ring finger, moving it down the 2nd fret of the A string, middle finger to the 2nd fret of the C string, index to the 1st fret of the E, strum through with our thumb. We're going to play 3 on the A by moving our ring finger up, and then 5 on the A with our pinky, bit of a stretch up there. And then to finish it, we go to our C chord, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A, strum through all 4 strings, and then do 3 nice background filler strums to end it. So here's what 21 through the end sounds like, something like this. And there you have it. There is the entirety of this arrangement. I'm going to bring the camera back up to me. What I love about this arrangement are all those fillers. All these little things that you can add in can create so much diversity and depth to the arrangement. And the most important thing you can remember is they're optional. I put them all in when I played it at the start of the song and when I demonstrate because I like the sound of these. But truthfully, you could repeat this song, play it all the way through, maybe with no fills or some fills like towards the end. And then on the second repeat, you throw those fills in and all of a sudden you have this beautiful, diverse run through of the melody 2 different times. This is a concept I use all the time in my arranging, and I hope you can see how it can start to fit in. Again, you could try it in your own arrangements by just listening for space. Do you hit a chord and it feels like it rings out for too long? Maybe try throwing a strum in there. As simple as that, thumb very lightly grazing the strings. In fact, sometimes when I'm playing it, you notice it almost sounds like I'm barely touching any of the strings. Like I might not even be hitting all 4. That's by design. It's a nice sound to get less sound, right? Less is more in this case. It creates more depth for your arrangement. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. As I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, this was actually voted on over at my Patreon page. Every month we do a different lesson vote, and everything's decided on by the member. So if you're a member, thank you so much for your support. And if you're not, please check it out and consider joining, because it's thanks to that website that I'm able to make these tutorials. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season here in 2023. If you're watching it in future years, I hope that everything's still going great, and this is too cool. One of my favorite Christmas melodies ever. A lot of fun to play on the ukulele, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here on this YouTube channel. Subscribe, click the notification bell. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.